Hello, sixth graders. We are in Unit 9, our percents unit. Our first lesson is percent of a number. This right here is super important as we are going through our lesson here. Whenever we see the word of, that's going to tell us that we need to multiply. And is, we think of it that it means the equal, or what is this going to be equal to. So our steps to solve the percent of a number questions, our first step is to write the percent as a decimal, and the second step will be to multiply. So if we remember about turning percents into a decimal, we start with that 5%. So find 5% of 300. Again, of here means that we're going to multiply. So 5%, we need to make that into a decimal. So we start wherever the decimal point is on the number, which in this case is at the end, and we move that decimal 2 spots to the left. So this as a decimal is 0.05. And then I'm just going to go in order. So I turned my 5% into a decimal. Of means we're going to multiply, and we are multiplying that by 300. And then I can go to my calculator, 0.05 times 300, and I end up with an answer of 15. So here we're just going to practice with a ton of examples, round the answers to the nearest hundredth if we need to. So our first one, 10% of 50. So again, of here means we're going to be multiplying those numbers together. So when I turn 10% into a decimal, I move 2 spots to the left, and we multiply that by 50, which is 5. Something super easy to help us with the 10% of something, and this is really important to know. Anytime we have 10% of something, all we need to do is move the decimal 1 spot to the left on the number that we're multiplying by. So 10% of 50 is 5. If we wanted 10% of 30, it would just be 3. 10% of 80, 8. You're just moving that decimal 1 spot to the left. And that can be used to help us with estimating. Next one, 40% of 120. So again, we're going to turn that 40% into a decimal by moving the decimal 2 spots to the left. Of here means our multiplication, and we're going to multiply that by 120. So 0.4 times 120 is 48. 35% of 90. When you're feeling confident on this, pause and try them on your own, and then check to see if you did it correctly. Move the decimal 2 spots to the left. Of multiply by 90. Again, you're just taking the words here, picking them apart, figuring out what we need to do. And then I'm using my calculator to solve 31.5 for my answer. 37.5% of 16 is what number? So of here means multiply, is my equal sign. When I have 37.5% like this, when I turn this into a decimal, I start where the decimal point is and go 2 spots to the left from there. 0.375. Again, of multiply, 16 is, that's my equal sign, and then I just multiply those together, and I end up with an answer of 6. What is 82.5% of 400? So I'm going to move my decimal 2 spots to the left. 0.825. Of means multiply by 400. And I end up with an answer, 330. Something to note, if my percent is less than 100, okay, so if my percent is lower than 100, then my answer needs to be less than that other amount. If it's over 100, right, if I have 110% of something, then it should be more than that number I'm multiplying by. What is 0.25 of 900? So again, we're going to start where the decimal is and go 2 spots to the left from there, 1, 2, which is 0.0025 of means multiply by 900. Plug that in on my calculator. 2.25 for my answer. So here's what I was just saying, percents that are greater than 100. So when I have a percent that's more than 100, I know that my answer better be bigger than 75, right? Think about extra credit. If you get extra credit on something, you're getting more points than what it was worth. So find 120% of 75. I'm going to turn this into a decimal by moving 2 spots to the left. 1.2. Of means we're going to multiply by 75. And I end up with an answer of 90. So it's like if I got 120% on a test, I actually got 90 points out of the 75. It should be more than what you started with. So try these other two. Find 150 of 20. So I'm going to move 2 spots to the left. 1.5 of 20 means I'm going to multiply by 20. And I end up with an answer of 30. This one you could break apart in your head, just as a side note, into 100% of 20 and then 50% of 20, right? If I get 100% on something, I have the full 20 amount. If I got 50%, that's half of it, which is 20 or 10. And then if I add those together, I end up with that 30. So just kind of using estimates where you could just calculate all of that in your head. Find 160% of 35. Move the decimal 2 spots to the left. Of multiply by 35. And I end up with an answer of 56. All right, this one says to refer to the graph. If 275 students took the survey, how many can be expected to have 3 televisions each in their houses? So here's my 3 TVs, and the percent of it was 23. So out of the survey, 23% said that they have 3 TVs, and that's 23% of the 275 students. So then I can solve this by multiplying and turn my percent into a decimal. Oops. And multiply that by 275, which is 63.25. So we would expect that about 63 students said that they have 3 TVs in their house. That's all for finding percent of a number. Make sure you have your notes in class. If you're stuck or confused, go back and rewatch.